I think we have a primate that's just put up with enough. Here's a look at new Hiya toys. This is the Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, Exquisite Basic Kong. Kong stands 16 centimeters tall, crafted with attention to detail based on original CG data, faithfully reproduces every aspect of Kong's appearance from Godzilla X Kong the New Empire, showing Kong's unstoppable and majestic stance. The figure is meticulously detailed with multi-layered paint applications that highlight his silver-white fur, intimidating eyes, robust musculature, and battle-scarred chest, reflecting decades of combat. The intricate detailing gives the figure a lifelike quality, with comprehensive upgraded joints, providing a wide range of motion for recreating various poses, such as the quadrupedal stance or crisscross. Accessories include a translucent battle axe, 3 pairs of interchangeable hands, allowing you to recreate iconic scenes. You'd like to get your paws on the new Kong the same way that Kong had his paws all over Suko. He swung him like a bat. Just know this figure is slated to drop the first quarter of 2025. Hey, wait a minute, reviewer. We're looking at our calendars right now. We're well within the first quarter of 2025. We're actually already into August. Yeah, that's true. What's also true, though, is looking around at 3 other sites, the normal go-tos when I can tell you the release dates on these figures, none of those 3 sites actually have a listing for this Kong. What was surprising, though, I had to go directly to the source, checking out Hiya's site, where I could actually find that the figure was going to be initially slated to drop the first quarter of 2025, and that he was also going to be selling for $51. So I'm not really sure the mystery behind why King Kong's so hard to find listings for. But needless to say, though, before we bring in past primates, I know we can't really very well live in the past, we'll live in the now. And in the now, we're going to take the tape measure, and we're going to see just how tall the Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, Exquisite Basic Kong stands. If I'm reading this correctly, at least in inches, King Kong's going to stand at 6 inches of that. And that's going to work out to be a figure that's 15.5 centimeters tall. If you have watched enough of these videos, then you'll recognize this guy. This was always my go-to King Kong, especially when it came to bringing the figure in for comparisons. Comparing, though, the 2 figures, the original Kong and then the new one, they're almost about the same size. The new one not only is just a tad bit taller, but he also benefits from one thing that always really had an issue when it came to this initial release, in the fact that you couldn't really ever bring his arms down. Try as I might, just there's not enough hinge in there to be able to bring his arms down. So part of my pun for saying this, King Kong always looked like he had gorilla arms. Already, though, that fixes the issue. He has a lot better posability, a lot more mobility in the shoulders, and a much better looking sculpt as well. Things speaking about the past, let's also bring in the past Godzilla. Now, this actually isn't that far of a past Godzilla. This is actually still Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, but this is prior to him getting the upgrade. The thing about getting, though, the upgrade, as we just kind of slide this guy out of the way and bring in the new one that has the pink dorsal fins, as I did say in the review, he has better posability, yes, but it does make, though, for a little bit smaller of Godzilla. If you're looking, though, at the 2 sizes to go back and rewatch the movie again, I still kind of feel like King Kong should still be a little bit shorter, maybe not in line or the same size, really, as the King of the Monsters. Speaking, though, of also the King of the Monsters, I wanted to also bring back in the 1991 Godzilla. I know we've already had a look at it, and granted, though, to be fair, it's a completely different universe. But at the time, though, that Hiya Toys did send over this Godzilla, this King Kong, they actually sent over, though, a brand new head sculpt to go then with the 91 release. Some they may have said in the comments section when we did do the review of the 1991 that he did look like he had cross eyes. Now, actually, they have sent over what I still feel to be like it's still a good-looking head sculpt, but it does actually fix the eyes just a little bit. So this is just, again, a case of popping the head off the ball joint and then just taking the new head that we get and just pop it back in place. Now, I heard that there has been replacements sent. I don't know, again, if customers that have picked up or ordered the 91 Godzilla, I'm still going to have to heat that. But those that have maybe ordered the 91 Godzilla, if they are going to be getting the replacement head, like the paint is definitely better. The eyes, you can see, are better in line with one another, and they also add a little bit more darker coloring on the sides. Again, like this really isn't the review of the 1991 King Godzilla, but again, I did want to bring in the head sculpt just to show you that they did send out replacements as well. I wouldn't really say he has many more accessories than the original Kong, but although the ones that he gets are all better sculpted and better painted. First, as an example to that, the figure does come included with his axe. This axe is done actually using a very soft plastic, which actually does benefit this, especially if you're putting this into the ape's hands. You really wouldn't want to worry about bending the plastic and warping it. I mean, with it being soft like this, it does have a lot more give to it. Bringing back in the axe that we got with the original King Kong, you can see that it may, though, be a little bit smaller, but I think it's got the better details going for it. The bright blue, I think, made it a little less realistic. I think with the colors that we're getting now traded to the new axe, gives it a little more realism, as realistic as this really could be, a giant primate wielding an axe like this. Speaking of him wielding, though, the axe, the figure does already have the suitable primate hands on the ends of his forearms. So we're going to go ahead and pick the figure up right now. The plastic, too, is forgiving enough that you can pry it away from the palm and then just sort of get yourself the axe and get it in there. And one of the benefits, too, of also this figure having the better levels of poseability is that, like I did in the beginning of this review, you can bend the elbow, and you can actually have the axe sitting on his shoulder like he's walking around that way. Man, that looks really cool. What's also cool, too, is that the figure does also have some swappable hands, and he does have the 3 swappable head sculpts. I don't really want to get ahead of myself yet. The hands that he has, he already has gripping hands, C-gripped hands on the ends already, but the figure does also have closed grips, or punching hands. These fist hands are fine. Again, some would prefer to have that displayed with the figure. I think really, though, I would rather have him dragging himself or walking on his knuckles, as that's something that we can now do with this figure. Being that he does have better levels of poseability in his shoulders, his elbows, and his wrists, means that you can actually get now Kong in a proper kind of pose where he's walking on his knuckles. To do that, though, you're just going to go ahead and hold the forearms, yank the hands off from the pegs. Not that really hard to do either. Get the new hand in place, just like that. Now, you do have to really make sure, though, even though the pegs are fairly easy to attach onto the hands, the one thing, though, about it is the stem. As you can see, the post isn't very long. So the quarters are quite tight. Basically, again, just going to twist the hand until eventually it gets onto the peg. I think, hopefully, we have it on there. And then you can bring the arm down. You can pose the body down like this, providing, of course, the hand is going to stay on there. And you can actually get him walking on his knuckles. Now, again, you're going to have to kind of also bend the knees too, bring his head up, which does at times pop off. We're going to just pop that back onto the ball joint like that. There we go. And then you can actually have him in a walking stance. Now, you could probably even do a much better job than what I'm doing right now. It's just more or less to show you. Bring his head up like that, bring his feet around, and he can actually, in fact, walk on his knuckles. Now, I've only really got the one on there right now, but at least it does show you the idea that it is possible. It's not something at all you could really have done with the original King Kong. He just did not have that levels of mobility in his shoulders, nor in his arms, nor really in his legs. Gonna move that guy out of the way. So I love that. I love the fact that you can actually get him in a pose looking like that. The figure does have, while he's in that pose, a relaxed hand, or a gestured kind of dynamic hand, I suppose. And he also has sort of the same, although this one does have the blood all over it. So if you want a little bit of blood on your Kong, just to break up all the gray, this might be the hand you may want to end up using. Picking, though, up Kong, we'll kind of re-correct his posture. And the figure does also have some swappable head sculpts. Now, the previous Kong did technically have the head that was out of the packaging with him, and then he also had 2 other ones. King Kong here does also the same. He has a neutral expression, which was really the one that we wanted to start the review with. Not just for the fact that the figure came out of the packaging this way, but I feel like also if you just want a calmer looking Kong, this is probably the better of the 3. I'll tell you right away, boy oh boy, they have not only gone vast improvements when it comes to poseability, but if you just look, though, at the look of Kong, and you compare him with the original one, not that there was anything really wrong with the original Kong, but I do feel like, though, leaps and bounds better when it comes to the sculpting. The paint is really good, too. And I don't know, I mean, you may also be the judge as well to look at this and see for yourself. Are his eyes not the most realistic eyes we've ever gotten on a Hiya release? It's almost as if they've painted the pupils, or painted the eyeballs, and then they've almost even added a sheen of glass over top of it. There's so much life to eyes this small. It's just an incredible looking head sculpt for Kong. Now, if you like this head sculpt, you may just choose to stick with this head right now. The figure does also have this really ticked off looking King Kong head. Easily can pop off the heads from the ball joints. So again, you just pop them off the post, take the new head, and just... So basically when you're putting it down too, you have to put it down so that the chin and the front of the face is further down. So just, again, like line everything up, plug it onto the post. Make sure, of course, you apply enough pressure so it stays on there. And now you have a really angry looking King Kong. Miles different, though, obviously, from the one that we started with. This is a Kong that he's already telling you now, leave him alone. He's already got the axe. Zuko, I don't know where he's been swinging him around. But yeah, just a cool looking head. Now this one does have, again, like the visible teeth. So right away, he's a lot angrier. But he can get even angrier. When we check out then this head sculpt, you can see that now Kong is growling. Some visible teeth are also there as well. You get also a chance to see his new tooth. But again, like, look at the eyes. Eyes like this are small. I get that. They're very hard to see. But again, like this, there's a lot of life on that face. How they managed to do that with such a small figure like this, just an incredible looking sculpt. Again, if you want to change the head, it's just a case doing all the same that we did before. Popping off the post, pop the new head in place, and a little bit of pressure that may be required. Now you got yourself an angrier King Kong. Now, just to bring back in the original King Kong head sculpts, I'm going to just put the figure down here for a second. I want to kind of do like to like. I guess like to like would probably be, well, this is the defaulted head. Here's the original head sculpt for version 2 Kong. And then there was also, again, this is the angrier King Kong head sculpt. And then this is the new updated release. I do like the darker colors too. This one I think was a little too light and gray. More realistic, definitely, on the version 2 Kong. Pardon me if I keep calling this version 2. And lastly, though, this is the original King Kong head sculpt with the growling face. This is the new King Kong. You be the judge. Let me know down below which is the better of the two. So those are all just the heads and the hands. Moving everything, though, out of the way. I guess we'll probably kind of keep the other King Kong close by just so you guys be able to see the comparisons that way. Yeah, other than just the head sculpt looking fantastic, I do actually like that they've used the darker coloring here. This dark, it's not even really just black. There's black, but then there's a lot of layers to this as well. I'm hoping really that the light in the camera is able to capture all this. It sort of starts, as best as I can describe, as kind of like a really dark gray. Then there's a black added in there as well. You've got some faint traces and gray hairs, a little bit of brown in there as well. Layers and layers of coloring. So it's not just, I mean, far enough away, I'm sure you probably would look at this and just think that this is just a dark gray character. But when you really go in there and start looking closely, can you not make out that he has all these little gray hairs? This man's getting old, after all. This primate's getting old. Got a big gash wound there on the back of his body. Of course, he does have the familiar scars there on the front of his chest as well. My only issue, and there has to, of course, be something wrong with this figure. It can't be completely positives, is that I do find the problems that he has is balancing. His feet, as you can see right here, aren't completely flat. In fact, when you're looking at the bottoms of his feet, they curve inward. I really wish, though, that Hiya chose not to do this. Yes, maybe it may add to realism on the figure, but it does cause conflict when it comes to the figure standing. You may notice already that when I always have this guy posed, every time I put this guy down, you may notice that I've leaned him forward. The original King Kong never really had that issue because he had actually flatter feet. Granted, they were still sculpted, but they were sculpted and flatter, so it made balancing this guy never really ever an issue. I mean, I could just put this guy down and he stands perfectly fine. The new King Kong, because he does have the arched in his feet, you can kind of see again, like when you put him down, if you were to put him up straight, for example, he's going to lean back. So you do really kind of have to have him arched forward like this, just so that the figure has a proper means to stand. Speaking, though, of standing, I mean, Hiya Toys has done this in the past as well with all their other Exquisite Minis and Exquisite Super Series figures. Why wouldn't they have maybe just even thought of including, like, holes on the bottoms of his feet? I mean, it's not something really that you'd ever see. I mean, anybody who has these guys displayed on their shelves would then be able to attach them onto a display stand. Even if a stand wasn't available, if you used at least universally sized holes on the bottoms of their heels, then at least you could get King Kong in a better pose without always really worrying that the guy has to lean forward for the risk that he may fall backwards. Let's move this guy out of the way, though. So for the figure's articulation, again, this is where the guy shines. Not only does he have better sculpting, better paint, but then just when you see all the levels of poseability that this guy also possesses as well, he is just knocking out of the park. The head's going to be, first of all, on a ball joint, and even just to say that, I feel like I'm kind of downplaying just how much the head can actually move. The head can look up really, really high, so again, if you want to have him walking on his knuckles, easily you can just pose the head up. The head does move down. You can also rock it back and forth. Very a lot of mobility there. I really didn't expect as much, but then when you look at how much actually they've allotted for clearance just on the bottom of his chin, they've factored that in for how much more you can actually bring the head down. In working, though, with the ball joint that attaches to his head, some may have already noticed, though, the figure does also have a ball joint at the base of his neck, so you can also move it up and down that way as well. It doesn't seem to move as well, though, as the joint that attaches to the head, but there's some decent poseability in the neck, too. For the arms, now, so with the way the shoulders work, the shoulders do allow the arms to rotate all the way around. But in addition to that, there's actually a joint that works right here in the shoulders where you can actually bring King Kong's arms out. If we were to say, just put this guy down for a second, we look at the original King Kong. No, Kong could kind of pull that off. First of all, what you would see, very visible joints. But also, too, you wouldn't be able to really bring his arms forward. They, sure enough, could come back, but bringing them forward was always more the issue. This new King Kong, though, not only can come forward and back, but again, like if you really want to have him close together, like he's pounding out his chest, you can actually, not drop the arm in the process, but you can actually even bend the elbow so he's pounding on his chest. That's incredible, the fact that you can actually do that. Now, so in addition to, obviously he's missing his hand there, in addition to that, though, the figure does again have a joint that covers over everything, so it looks seamless, as seamless really as it could be. The figure does have a bicep swivel, or I should really say a shoulder swivel, so it allows the arm to rotate all the way around. The figure does also have a double bend in the elbow. Now, where they chose to put the bend is one right here, right below the bicep, and walking distance a little further down, right here in the forearm. So right there, you can actually get quite a good bend on Kong. The forearm also does rotate back and forth, and if there was a hand here, we'll kind of have to work with this hand for right now. The hand would rotate all the way around. You can also hinge those back and forth too. When we get to his top torso, so Kong's got a torso ball joint here, so you can already move the torso back and forth, up and down, but then he also has further down one in the abdomen area, and look how much more that you can actually do with Kong there. The legs are on ball joints, so you can split the legs out pretty far actually. You can move them forward, you can move them back. There is a swivel at the top of the thigh, and then if you move a little further down, he seems to also have a swivel about halfway up the thigh. In addition to that, the figure does also have a double hinge in the knee, and he also has a hinge in the ankle. Now, aside from also having not completely flat feet, which is also facing this figure's biggest problems, one other problem that he also has too is that he doesn't have really much of a hinge joint right here. If I bring the ankle down, that's as little as he actually has to work with. Had they only maybe just cut this a little higher up or made the joint, I know it would have been more visible, but if they made that just a little more of a gap space, you could actually have arched the feet further forward to compensate for the fact that the figure has a harder time to stand. Standing might be the issue when it comes to Kong. Certainly, though, when it comes to the paint, the applications, and the execution of the figure, he's got no problems there. When you look at where we came from and where we are now, the new Kong, though, by far is the best example that we've gotten of the primate. And again, like as it comes to Hiya toys, they have again perfected when it comes to these figure releases. Granted, still though, when it comes to the smaller Godzilla, while he did have a lot more poseability possessed in his body, it made for a much smaller figure. I am curious though that when eventually we get ourselves the gloved King Kong or Power Glove Kong, whether he is going to be of the same size as this Kong, or if in fact he's going to be a little bit smaller. Now, I've also heard as well that there's going to be a release of another Godzilla that's going to be, I think, a little bit taller than the one that we got right here. But from certainly the standpoint of, I know, again, we're not really looking at Godzilla in this review, but certainly when it comes to King Kong, if you had the original King Kong, and this really, like myself, was the one that we had standing in, not only for the comparisons, but displaying him on the shelf, I hate to say this might be the time to retire the old King Kong, as a better one has now been released. I'll tell you one thing I had with this Kong that I couldn't say I had with the other. Fun. I mean, a lot of times getting these figures out of their packaging, they look the way they should from the film, but you really can't always move a lot of things on the figures' bodies. I mean, when it comes to the previous Kong, one of the things that really was a restriction on the figure was especially his arms. He always really felt like his arm had to hang out instead of being closer to his body. Hiya saw that as a problem and fixed it with their newest release. Yes, the new Kong not only does look a lot nicer than the previous one, but it also does give you a lot more flexibility and things that you can actually do with his body. I had just a lot of times and a lot of fun getting him in different poses, having him, for example, walking on his knuckles, which you really couldn't do at all with the previous release. And you can get this guy in his different poses, different action stances. Standing, though, that could, though, be one biggest issue that's really facing this figure, being that he doesn't really completely have flat feet. They went for realistic, but unfortunately, though, realism cost this figure the ability to properly stand. If you do have this figure, you're likely probably going to be getting him in poses like I have right now. Having him standing upright, you may feel then compelled to lean him or lunge him forward so he can actually properly stand. I feel like if Hiya Toys does do this with some of their figures, go with the utmost realism on them, I don't feel bad at all if to say them, like, you just put pegals on the bottoms of the figure's feet. Even if they don't even at all come included with display stands, if at least they're using universally sized holes, you could then just use a display stand from another action figure company. Outside of that, though, if you count out the quantity of accessories, they're really about the same as the previous Kong, but not only has the accessories improved, but the figure that goes with them has improved considerably. A big thank you again to the folks over at Hiya Toys that did provide this sample. This was the brand new Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire Exquisite Basic Kong. He dropped the king, but he certainly is still a king of the primates. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comment section. Is this one that you guys currently have on pre-ordered? And if you have been able to find this guy listed on some of the sites. Now, again, I went to 3 different sites, the go-tos, like the BBTS's, Entertainment Earth's. BBTS surprised right away. They didn't even have a listing for it. Sure enough, they had listings for a King Kong, but not the one from Godzilla X Kong. If you guys did enjoy this video, you can do it a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. We have more actually Hiya Toys reviews coming your way, so if you guys really want to check out more for that, obviously there's going to always be more videos coming your way too. If you also need your fix for Hiya, popping up at the very end of this video will also be a playlist. Feel free to give that a check. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you guys next time.